Police fire 3 bullets at a black army colonel. 5 minutes later, the Pentagon sends tanks. 3 shots tore through Gate 14. Fight until the end. Blood hit the tiles. Screams echoed. The man who fell didn't fight back. He didn't shout. He just bled. Calm, silent, terrifyingly composed. A second later, he whispered, "Call no one. Just tell them Colonel A was here." The chaos lasted under 30 seconds. Children cried, coffee shattered, national security agents froze. Airport speakers kept calling flights as panic swallowed the terminal. Behind a smoking Glock stood Officer Dustin Thorne, trembling. Shots fired. Suspect down. Atlanta Airport. Gate 14. Need backup. But there was no suspect. No struggle. No gun. Just a man in a faded jacket bleeding into the floor. His eyes blinked slowly, like he'd seen this before. Dustin shouted, "Stay down!" Louder than he needed to. The man lifted his head. Calm. No calls. No names. Tell him Colonel A was here. He said it as if it outweighed his own life. Across the checkpoint, Sofia Vasquez froze. 6 weeks on the job, 25 years old, never seen a gun fired. Yet when she sensed Dustin's tone change, her thumb tapped her smartwatch. Recording now. The air stank of powder. A coin rolled from a man's boot and stopped under the scanner. That had triggered everything. She remembered his gentle smile. "Sorry, probably a coin. Haven't worn these boots in months." His voice had been polite, no threat. But Dustin's eyes had narrowed. "Sir, step aside. Hands behind your back." "It's just a coin," a man replied. "Steady," I said. "Hands behind your back." Sofia had tried to speak. "Shut it, Vasquez." Then the gunfire. Paramedics burst in, stumbling over bags. Phones filmed everything. One medic knelt. "Sir, can you speak?" "I'm fine," he said, short of breath. "Name?" "Colonel A." "That's not a name. It's all you need." He said it like a promise, not a secret. Sofia backed toward the window, shaking. Her recording still ran. She saved it to her private cloud. Dustin was already talking fast. He reached for something, maybe on drugs. "He didn't reach," she whispered. Dustin ignored her. The man's blood spread like ink. But his eyes stayed alert, scanning exits. "We need to move him," a medic said. "No ID," he muttered. "Just tell him I was here." Then his eyes closed, not unconscious, just waiting. Dustin spoke into his recorder, voice cold. Suspect resisted, reached for his waist. "I followed protocol." "You're lying," Sofia said. "What?" "He never reached. You fired first. You want to lose your job?" "I want the truth." "You got no evidence." "I recorded everything." His eyes widened. "You what?" "The moment your tone changed." "That's illegal." "So is shooting an unarmed veteran. You have no idea what you've done." "No, Dustin, you have no idea who you just shot." Then the sound came, a low rumble, growing louder. Outside, black SUVs screeched to a stop. Men in unmarked uniforms poured out, followed by armored trucks. "What the hell is this?" someone shouted. A man in a gray suit flashed a badge. "We're here for Colonel Darian Alexander. Where is he?" "Medical took him," Sofia said. "Secure the scene. Lock down the terminal. Pentagon authority." Sofia stared through the chaos. The man who never raised his voice had changed everything. She opened her phone and sent the video to a contact she never thought she'd call. Dustin's face drained white. He hadn't shot a random traveler. He'd shot a legend. 6 hours earlier, Atlanta had been quiet under bruised clouds, streets slick from rain. Dari Alexander walked alone. Gray hoodie, dark jeans, polished boots. No ribbons, no insignia, only a fading boarding pass in his pocket. At 54, he moved with precision, each step deliberate, His gaze read people, the way soldiers read wind for signs. Not paranoia, discipline. He'd served 29 years, led rescue operations no one ever spoke of, and buried friends whose names never appeared on walls. When he retired, he left the uniform, but not the vigilance. He had planned to disappear quietly, start over somewhere coastal. But that morning, he'd received a message 7 words long. "You were right. They're coming for you." At the airport, he'd sensed eyes on him long before security. He'd slowed near Gate 14, scanning angles, exits, reflection glass. Then the scanner beeped. The young officer, Sophia, looked uncertain, but polite. The older one, Dustin, looked eager, the type who mistook control for authority. Alexander smiled. "Lifted your boot. Probably a coin." Dustin's hand hovered near his weapon. "Step aside, officer. Hands behind your back." 3 seconds later, bullets. Now, hours later, somewhere between consciousness and control, Alexander felt the stretcher bump over cracks on the tarmac. He could hear the sirens, the distant roar of engines. "Central Memorial, right?" one medic said. Alexander didn't answer. His fingers brushed the coin they'd missed in his pocket. Not metal, but a tracking chip, smaller than a dime. He'd known they'd come for it. The coin in his boot had been the decoy. In the ambulance mirror, blue lights flickered across his face. The medic said softly, "We'll be there in 5. Alexander's eyes opened halfway. "No, you won't," he murmured. Behind them, military vehicles closed in. Sophia's video spread through encrypted channels. Within minutes, the name Colonel Darian Alexander was trending nationwide. But inside the ambulance, the man they were hunting had already unbuckled one strap. He looked at the medic and smiled faintly, blood still on his sleeve. "Tell them I was here," he whispered again. And then everything went white. The military never really leaves you, especially when you were once the man called when everything else had failed. Colonel Darian Alexander had led missions in Fallujah, Kandahar, and Ramstein. He'd been in rooms that didn't exist, shaped policies no president would ever sign, but that still changed history. Yet today, he was just a father heading to surprise his son, Cadet Elijah Alexander, newly admitted to West Point. He wanted the trip to feel normal. No uniform, no escorts, no privilege. Just a black man walking through airport security like everyone else. Because he needed to know how the world treated him without the medals. He'd left the uniform, the salutes, even his ID behind. Somewhere between the mural of smiling veterans and the metal detectors, he'd whispered to himself, "Let's see if any of that respect survives the metal detector." He didn't know how prophetic those words would be. TSA officer Dustin Thorne had been stationed at Atlanta for only 3 weeks, transferred after profiling complaints quietly erased from his record. He called his instincts gut feelings. Others called them racism with a badge. He hated quiet, confident travelers, the kind that didn't flinch under scrutiny. And when Darian stepped up to the conveyor belt, calm and collected, that confidence set him on edge. Darian placed his hoodie, boots, and phone neatly on the tray. "Scan him again," Dustin ordered. "Sir, you already cleared," said Officer Sophia. Torn ignored her. The scanner beeped. "What's in your shoe?" "Probably a coin," Darian said. "Haven't worn these since Frankfurt." Dustin froze. Folt. Military. Suspicion flared. Darian met his eyes. "You're welcome to check." His composure felt like authority. And Dustin, insecure in his own, mistook it for defiance. "Step over here. Hands behind your back." "He hasn't done anything," Sophia protested. "He's following directions." "That's a refusal," Dustin barked, his voice rising. People turned, cameras tilted. Darian slowly reached toward his boot. "It's just a coin. He never finished. Dustin's hand twitched through his holster. In that instant, something irreversible began. Sophia's pulse spiked. She didn't fully understand what she was witnessing, but instinctively, her thumb slid over her smartwatch. Record this. Under the harsh fluorescent lights, Darian stood perfectly still, the coin glinting in his fingers, his eyes calm, resigned. Dustin's finger trembled. The air was heavy with fear and history. And far away, deep in the Pentagon, a secure line rang. A voice command. No fingerprint, no hesitation. Protocol Alpha, Condition Red, Atlanta. Wheels began to move, invisible but unstoppable. Darian Alexander, the ghost wrapped in metals, had once commanded global operations. Now the machinery he had helped build was stirring again, not to protect nations,